Hello and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be a part of their world. Today, we are talking Disney Lorcana set number 5, Shimmering Skies with the Mr. RMB. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. Last week we had a chance to visit with Travis Young of Kingslayer Games, where we talked all about, well, first of all, the 1-year anniversary of Lorcana, what we liked, what we'd like to see better, and what we hope to see in the upcoming year. And this week we are very excited because we have on a super cool guest. It's somebody that I've been wanting to get on here for a while now. We're going to talk about the potential set 5 meta, competitive play, and more with the one and only RMB. Hey, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it, guys.
We're excited to have you. So first, before we dive into things, why don't you tell us who you are and what you're about?
Well, I'm RMB, aka Mr. Bald. I see that James is a part of the movement, so I appreciate that. We're going to convince Jared at some point to join the club. But yeah, I'm a...
when you win a DLC with Flounder, I will shave my head.
I'm just telling you right now, don't write a check with your mouth that your head can't cash, because I will sleeve up a singular Flounder in Sapphire Steel and do everything that I can to top 8 another DLC.
I would gladly, for real. That's my commitment to you.
When are we gonna get a Floodborne Flounder? Like when like can we get one, please?
I keep telling him it's like in about 10 years.
No.
We got a Floodborne Diablo. We got a Floodborne Archimedes. Like the companion sidekicks are getting some love.
But they got it. I mean,
Flounder's just biding his time.
Ravensburger's like, we got to keep Jared. We got to keep Jared going. Like, feed him a little bits here and there. So like,
right, exactly.
Now we know set 6 is Oswald. He's been clamoring for Oswald. Now we got Oswald. Next, he's like, Floodborne Flounders. Like, we got to draw it out. It's got to be a little while. You can't get everything all at once.
I need a Floodborne Pascal too. Like that's my. I need a Floodborne Chameleon. Like, let me get a little cute Floodborne Chameleon, please.
Floodborne Bucky. Anyway, sorry, I took us off the rails. Tell us who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, so I'm like a bald guy that just like really likes Disney. I've played TCGs for like way longer than I care to admit, because it's gonna date myself and you guys are gonna be like, wow, that guy's old. But like, I've played TCGs now for about 24 years. I started off like collecting Pokemon cards as a child. I think like probably most of us collected Pokemon cards as a child. Never played the game. The first ever TCG that I really got into was Yu-Gi-Oh! When Yu-Gi-Oh! First came out, I was in high school at the time. I used to like watch Yu-Gi-Oh! When I came home from school, loved the TV show. The card game came out here in the United States. And like, I was like, yeah, like I watched the show every single day. Of course, like I'm going to try to play the game. Played the game for a while. There was a card that I really liked that ended up like it was a build around for my deck. They ended up restricting it to 1, and when that happened, I was like, all right, I don't want to play this anymore. And my best friend, like my childhood best friend, his older brother played Magic the Gathering, and he was like, let me teach you guys how to play. So like, we would just sit down and play Magic the Gathering like unsleeved on the living room floor together. And that kind of like spun me into another world. Like, we went to, a few locals, and I was like, oh, and I started getting the itch. And then when was it M10 and like Lorwyn block hit, like I got super hyper competitive into Magic the Gathering. I played Magic for about 20 years. I played in every level of competitive play imaginable, including the Pro Tour. The only thing I was never able to get to was the World Championship, which is like the one thing I always aspired for. I played Hearthstone digitally as well for like the first 5 years that game existed. Went back to Magic, played more Magic, and then when Disney Lorcana was first announced, so I had tried to teach my significant other. Her name's Rachel. I call her RMB. You might see her around the community as RMB. It's kind of funny because like we have the same initials, so it just made it so much easier to give her the tagline RMB. But I tried to teach her Magic the Gathering one time, and it resulted in her crying So that didn't go over very well when you're trying to teach 30 years worth of game mechanics. So when Disney Lorcana got spoiled, we both love Disney. We grew up as theater nerds and in show choir and in musical theater. So like naturally we absolutely love Disney. We saw it and we were like, hey, you know, like when the game comes out, when the cards come out, like we watched like the YouTube videos that Ravensburger was putting out on like how to play the game. We got 2 starter decks and a booster box. And like we sat down and like we learned how to play at the kitchen table. We learned together and she absolutely loved it. So like I love TCGs. It's been such a huge part of my life for a very, very long time. And now my significant other is also sharing in the joy that I have with TCGs. So like it was a no-brainer for me. Like it's a relatable IP. I love the artwork. The characters are great. And it's something that I get to do with RMB. Like sign me up. Like shut up and take my money. And I love it. I'm a part of a competitive team, Labyrinth TCG. Yeah, I'm just a bald guy who likes to play princesses.
I love that story. I would love for nothing more than to have somebody like that I could share. You know, like my son likes to play Lorcana, but he lives in Idaho with his mom. But there's nobody in my house that enjoys playing with me. That's such a cool story. So, when this episode drops, which is Friday, the 9th, Shimmering Skies is also set to release at your local game stores. Before we get into the nitty gritty of what we anticipate and look forward to in set 5, what are your overall impressions of set 5 as a whole before we have really, like, I'm sure you've done some play testing with it with proxies and stuff, but what are your overall impressions with it?
I like it significantly more than I liked set 4. I'll say that much. So like there's 2 different things that I want to tackle. The first one being is the enchanted artwork. So I am a Tamatoa. I like shiny things. So like you'll always see me with blinged out stuff. Like I will make it a point for whatever deck that I'm playing max rarity because I love the artwork. I love foil cards. I love enchanteds. This set by far has the most beautiful enchanteds the game has seen thus far. Like the art style that they did on the enchanteds this set is absolutely remarkable. Like I'm in love with it. Like it's so good. When I saw the Archimedes, I was like, oh, I need 12 of those.
Yeah.
Like the card's just beautiful. The Mufasa is also just absolutely incredible. I think like so the one that I want a playset of is You're Welcome because like I just want to play that card. So like I'm going to play a playset of that card and I want them to be enchanted. But like my 2 chases for this set are definitely Archimedes and Mufasa just because I think that the artwork is so incredibly good. So like that's the shiny side of RMB. For like the competitive aspect of the game, I'm super happy for Shimmering Skies because it is going to bring back a deck archetype that we haven't seen in Lorcana since set 1 be very effective, and that is aggro strategies. I know that, RMB, how can one card completely change the landscape of the meta? Daisy Duck Donald's Date does in fact do that, and I know that was very alliterative, and that was intentional. But Daisy Duck Donald's Date is such an absolutely incredible card. And I think that it really does allow some of the more aggressive strategies to have a character that is not easily removed with a high lore capability that comes down early enough in the game where you can generate a significant lore advantage. Which I really, really like for the state of the game. We haven't had an aggro deck, in my opinion, since set 1 with like the Emerald Amber, Lilo, Simba, Just in Time, Cusco. Like that was the last like real aggro deck I think that we had.
That takes me back.
It takes me back too. But like that was
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say that was like the last aggro deck that like we really had that like made a splash in the game. So like I'm excited to see what Daisy does to the format.
So let's sidetrack real quick. Yeah, let's sidetrack real quick into Daisy since you kind of answered a little bit of my question coming up. So let me ask the question that the statement and the question people will ask you is like, but Daisy lets your opponent draw a card. That's
Sure.
not good, right?
So here, I'm going to break this down super, super simple. As the aggro player, I do not care how many cards you have in your hand. And the reason I don't care how many cards you have in your hand is you need to consider a deck's average ink cost. So if you were to take up all of the ink costs of an entire deck, multiply that by the number of cards in the deck, you get an average cost. And your typical decks in the current meta range anywhere between like a 3.8 to like a 3.9 in average ink cost. With some of the hyper aggressive strategies like Amber Amethyst, the average ink cost is like 1.9. So you may have cards in your hand, but the game is not going to go on long enough for you to be able to reasonably cast all of them. Whereas I'm developing this card advantage for the both of us between both Daisy Duck and the new Amethyst Chromacon, where I am playing every single thing that I draw and you just aren't. So like if you have cards in your hand, cool. Like you're not going to be able to cast them all before the game's over.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick for those who may not know what Daisy Duck Donald's date is. She's a 1-cost Amber Inkable too. No, she's not Inkable. Never mind.
She's very uninkable. If that card was
One
inkable,
strength. She has 1 strength and 4
$100
willpower, and her ability says when she quests, your opponents may draw a card. So
no. It doesn't.
There's more.
It doesn't say that
may.
they just draw a card. It says they reveal the top card of their deck. If it's a character, they draw it. If it's not a character, it goes to the bottom of their deck too. So like
it is filtering out all of those actions and items and
deal with her.
locations.
Exactly. Like it's filtering out like, oh, sorry that you had that brawl on the top of your deck. Be a shame if you had to put it to the bottom of the deck. Sorry you had that be prepared on the top of your deck. Be a shame if you had to put it on the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a good card.
All right. That was our sidetrack. So obviously that is like one thing that is impacting the set 5 meta is aggro is coming back.
Right.
Now we can't fully predict the future, but do you see aggro actually becoming like a tier 1 meta deck?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that like, especially early on in the early meta of set 5 is mostly going to be comprised of hyper aggressive strategies because Daisy is just that good and there's not enough reasonable removal options to deal with her. So it's going to be very enticing for players to try to count to 20 as fast as humanly possible with these aggressive strategies, which is going to lead to Steel Song being a tier 1 deck as well, because it also plays a bunch of low cost, very effective characters that gains an ink advantage by singing songs that remove a lot of your opponent's characters. And to kind of complete the triangle of what we've typically known as a rock, paper, scissors meta, I think that Ruby Sapphire, because it's so punishing to the Steel Song deck, that I think that that's going to make the triangle of our rock, paper, scissors meta for at least the first 3 weeks to a month after set release. I think that those will be like the 3, tier 1 decks. I think that there's going to be some decks that are going to struggle early on, such as Ruby Amethyst and Sapphire Steel, which are both typically very reactive decks that require a good understanding of the metagame to design the deck in a way that can combat what the tier 1 or more problematic decks of the format are. It needs to have an understanding of what it is that they're fighting against before they can develop, a deck build that is going to be consistent enough to beat what the other players are doing.
And thus is the meta of a game where it just shifts all the way through the release of the game until the next new cards come out.
Now, here's the thing. I think aggro is going to be a tier 1 deck for the very early game. Aggro is one strategy that is very easily counterable, though. Once people figure out like how to answer the deck, when people start packing, befuddles and fire the cannons in their lists, or poor unfortunate souls, or there's some madman out there that's, trying to go Pluto into the human Sisu on turn 2, like aggro is a very beatable strategy. It is very easy to beat that type of strategy. So I don't know if it's going to stay a tier 1 deck, but it is going to hold a large portion of the meta share for the foreseeable future.
Any other high level impressions of set 5 before we move on?
Yeah. So like we're also like moving into a stage where we're everything is becoming more ink efficient. So you look at things like Daisy as an aggressive tool that's very cost effective. The other one that I really want to talk about is Naveen. So Naveen is, and this is my personal opinion. If you look at Naveen in a vacuum, it is the most powerful card in the game. Uh, its ability is so much better than every other card in the game. It's not even funny. Like I want you to think about the possibility of on turn 4, you pay a total of 4 ink and get to spend 10 ink worth of characters and spells, characters and actions. Like, tell me another card that has the same level of ink spend per capita parity in the game.
The only one that comes close is the 5-drop Jim Hawkins, who can get out
right.
Technically minimum of 9 value at 5 cost.
Right, exactly. So like on turn 4, you can expend a total of 10 ink. So like you're talking about like hyper efficiencies that are being created in the game. Now, like if we step out of the vacuum, there's not a whole lot of 6 cost songs that like I would really want to cast for free. There's definitely a bunch of 5 cost songs though. If you think about things like there's some great removal options in cards like Grab Your Swords, Let It Go. We don't talk about Bruno. Obviously, like the one that we really want to talk about is A Whole New World and the implications that Naveen has on the Steel Song deck. So in the current meta, a very common play pattern is for you to play Aerial on turn 3. You look at the top 4, you find the Whole New World, you put the Whole New World in your hand. It's a very telegraphed play. You're playing against Ruby. They're like, well, I need to deal with the Aerial. So on their turn, they brawl your Aerial. Now you no longer have an Aerial to sing that Whole New World that you just picked up. Well, here comes Naveen. I no longer need to have a shift target. The ink doesn't even need to be dry. I just play this Naveen and I get to cast this Whole New World for free. It is going to completely change the play patterns of Steel Song, which was already a deck that was very, very good at being ink efficient, to an increased efficiency. And I think that that's going to be a common theme moving into set 5 meta, is that we're looking at creating these like hyper efficient lists. So like the slower, more dirtily decks that like kind of are just like, I'm like doing stuff and things and stuff, but it's not really making any like real impact on the game, are kind of going to get pushed out of the meta for a little while these hyper efficient decks are just getting to do significantly more things or using significantly more ink than you're using earlier on in the game.
Or if that Aerial stays on, you play Naveen, sing A Whole New World, and then you have Aerial to play, Grab Your Swords. Or if
so gross,
Aerial's removed, you have Vanessa on the table and she can play Zeus. Steel Song is feasting this set.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which actually leads me to my next question. I was going to ask you, which ink do you think benefits the most from Shimmering Skies? And because I'm a Sapphire stan, I said, why is it Sapphire? Because I'll be honest, I got a lot of things in Sapphire that I'm excited for.
Oh, it's definitely Sapphire. Sapphire got so many tools this set. The problem is that like for the start of the meta, I don't know that Sapphire is like going to have time to do all the big flashy things that it wants to do because of Daisy. Like historically speaking, like Ruby Sapphire is like the premier control deck in the format. And it's kind of like, no offense, but it is kind of one of those like dirtily decks. It's like, I'm going to take the first, 4 to 5 turns off of the game to develop an ink advantage. And then like, I'm just going to start playing, a bunch of removal, board wipes, like big, scary things. I don't know that it's going to have the leeway to take the first, 4 to 5 turns of the game off. But there's definitely some tools in Sapphire that like I'm super excited for, because I too am a Sapphire mage. Cards like Chicha, I think changes the makeup of the type of ramp you want to play. I'm excited for Chicha to go Chicha into a Mickey Mouse draw card, into a Donald Duck draw card. And then on your turn 5, you're theoretically at, 7 ink, which is like really, really powerful because you still just have 2 bodies in play and one of them quests for 2. Like, I think that that's like really like, that's a real ramp strategy that's kind of off the course of, one jump ahead into how far I'll go, and, really putting the dependency on your songs not getting ripped out of your hand by the 2-drop Ursula. Like, I do like that play pattern. I like Cusco a lot. I think that Sapphire having like this kind of catch-all removal piece for like things that are very problematic for Sapphire to deal with in the first place is astounding. Like, I love that card. Not only that, it's got another line of text. It's just got this ink sync on it that's like, yeah, I pay 4 ink as many times as I want to just give my board resist 1 for until my next turn. Like, how crazy is that card? That card's so good.
Yeah, go ahead and give it to the ink that just loves to ramp, so they always have plenty of ink laying around.
Right. Like, it also like gives you something to do with your ink on turns that you don't want to overextend into like your opponent's be prepared. Like, I'm already winning on board. There's no point in me, developing additional resources to the board. Like, let me make your Mauis a little bit worse on your follow-up turn so you are forced to be prep. And like, cool, I didn't overextend, so like I still have a handful of gas that I can just redeploy to the board and just maintain priority in this game.
What do you think of Tipo?
I want to like it. I just don't know that I do. And the reason I don't really like it is because it's very poorly statted. It's also just like a fishbone quill on 2 attached to a poorly statted body, but it's single use. It is inkable, which is fine. I think that if the body was a little bit better statted, like even just like a 2/2 would probably make it a little bit better. Or if it like quested for 2, I think that like I don't want to remove additional hand resources that I have and put myself at a deficit against like the discard strategies that are in the game. Like, Amber Emerald discard is still a real deck. Like, if you're going to help them, if you're going to help their game plan, like, it's going to be bad for you.
Well, that's fair.
So my question was about Great Stone Dragon. Does that become more of a useful tool than it has been in the past, because now you're playing more characters for ramp than you are songs, and therefore you have resources in your discard you can use instead of coming out of your hand like from Fishbone?
Yeah, I like Great Stone Dragon a lot as a card. I think that it's very, very good. If you are playing a more character-centric ramp package, then like obviously Great Stone Dragons is a great include. It is different though. I don't necessarily look at it so much as a ramp tool as much as I look at it as a draw engine. And I know that's like, it's kind of weird. You're like, but wait, RMB, Great Stone Dragon doesn't draw cards. Well, like, yeah, it doesn't draw cards, but what it does do is it means that you can continue to ink every single turn without having to actually ink from your hand. And you get to keep all of the hand resources that you draw, which I really, really do like. The downside to it is that if you like, it's not a turn 3 play, in my opinion. Like, you can't realistically play it on turn 3 because you're paying 3 to put this exerted item in play that doesn't impact the board state in any way. And a lot of games are decided, within the first couple of turns of a game, realistically, because like we are getting to be, a lot more efficient. But I do think that the card is very, very good. Like, the longer the game goes on, the more activations you get off of it, I think the more favored you are of winning the game.
Okay, good. Now, so the previous question was, what's the best one and why is it Sapphire? So let's go the opposite way. Which one didn't get a whole lot of tools? Which one really didn't improve that much in this set?
So I think that there's 2 that didn't get like a ton of tools. Really, there's probably 3. Like, if I had to pick like the bottom 3, number 3 is probably Amethyst. Like, there's a few cool things in Amethyst. Like, I think the Chromacon is very, very good. I think the action that draws 3 cards, like maybe that makes Jafar a little bit better option. There's obviously the elephant, the new Madam Mim, which I think is very, very powerful. There's the Magicka Dispel that could be a tech option for if a whole new world is just dominating the format, like, hey, maybe Ruby Amethyst starts slotting in these Magicka Dispels and is like, haha, I'm not discarding anything. I've got 20 cards in my hand. Like, deal with me. like there's like, I think that like Amethyst like did get some stuff, but like by and large, like they didn't get any like Diablo. Like, they didn't get anything like that. I think that Ruby is probably the biggest loser. Like there was not really a lot from Ruby that I was super excited about, which to be fair, Ruby has the colors already broken as it is. It doesn't need anything. It like every character that they print in Rubies is a 2-for-1. It's like, yes, like this deals with your thing and like leaves the thing in play. Like stop doing that. Like stop making Ruby characters remove stuff from my side of the board. Please. So like Ruby didn't need any help. It already has like Maui, which is one of the best statted characters in the game. It's got Tremaines, Medusas, dragons, like it's got all these things that remove something and then still leave a board piece in play for you. This one might come as a shocker, but overall, I think like Steel was also kind of one of the big losers this set. We didn't really get like a whole lot of Steel actions. We didn't get like any additional removal options. We didn't get any more, board wipes. There's like a couple of cards that I think are obviously like very, very good. I think that the Pete is the 3-drop Pete, the Lotheb of Lorcana, if you will, is arguably one of the best cards in the set. I don't know that it's going to be hyper good like the first few weeks because I think aggro is going to be very, very like omnipresent when Steel Song takes over and pushes it out of the format. Obviously Pete's going to be very, very good because that's a very bad card for Steel Song to deal with since they want to be able to cast songs and stuff every turn. And I think that the doc is also like crazy good. I think you're going to see Steel aggressive strategies come out of the woodwork. More than likely it's going to be, maybe a hyper aggressive Amber Steel variant that plans on like, maybe they're not playing a whole new world. Maybe they're just like playing a bunch of dudes to the board, trying to get all the cards out of their hands, refill with Doc, and just kind of like keep that train rolling. Or Amethyst Steel aggro strategies. There's a lot of really good aggressive Amethyst characters like Maleficent. Pascal is another really good one. I think that Doc's going to fit really well in there. I'm personally like, I love Steel. Steel is probably my favorite color in the game. I'm almost always going to be playing a Steel deck in some way or another. And I feel like this is the 5th set. So we have 10 Steel legendaries. Of the 10 Steel legendaries, I think I could argue that 2 of them are playable.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Like, two of them are playable.
And Robin Hood.
Yeah. Like, I know a lot of people have said that like they really, really like the Arthur, that they think the Arthur is really good. And I want to point out the fact that Hades is a card that exists. It is a 7-cost uninkable card that just removes something. Arthur effectively does the same thing, but requires additional steps. It requires you to have this other character in play. It requires that character to challenge, one of your opponent's characters. It is a really powerful effect. Don't get me wrong. Like, it can challenge a readied character, gets Challenger 2 and Resist 2. Like, that is a very powerful effect. It's got the same stats as Hades, but it does quest for 1 more. So, like, it's like they're comparable cards. But the point is that Hades isn't even seeing play. So why would I want to play a Hades with additional steps? Like, if I wanted that type of effect, like, I'd just play Hades. And like, I know the argument is, but what about like warded characters? Like, sure. Like, in that hyper specific use case, like Cogsworth and Muses are 2 of the only warded characters that actually see play currently. So like, you got me there.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that. Steel has not been very kind with their legendaries. I will say, going back to your Amethyst talk, my dream combo, which I know is probably never going to happen except for in casual play, is the Genie that when you exert them, the opposing characters, exerted characters can't quest or ready up. And then the Ana that, and when it enters plays, exerts all the opposing characters. That's like my dream combo right there.
Oh yeah, someone's gonna do it. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, it's that is definitely like a really like oppressive thing to do. The downside is that the Genie costs 7 and it's uninkable.
And
That's
and
like
Yana that does also.
Yeah, like that's like the big problem is that we're moving into set 5. Like there's a lot of uninkable cards in the game, and a lot of them are really really good. Like you're really gonna have to, especially for like Steel Song. Steel Song has always had a high density of uninkable cards. Like with Daisy and Naveen, like you're really gonna have to be very careful. Number one, at the total number of uninkable cards, and like really choosing, okay, like what uninkable cards do I want to run? Because like you only have so many uninkable slots that you can run in any given deck.
All right, so let's move this on. Set 4 was dominated by the Bucky is too oppressive talk, even though I don't think a single Bucky deck won a DLC. Or did it win in Chicago? Okay.
Chicago.
Yeah, I
My
want
bad.
Brian Cortado won in Chicago, aka the Rat.
My
Shout
bad.
out to Brian. He's a
Anyway,
good
shout
dude.
out to Brian. My bad. Do you see any potentially problematic decks in set 5, like the Bucky's too oppressive deck? I mean, I know you talked a lot about the Daisy Naveen deck. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, so like I think that Steel Song is probably the only deck that could become oppressive in set 5, just like on my initial interpretation of what I anticipate the meta would look like. But then again, like it can't be that like oppressive, because I think that the Ruby Sapphire deck is still just such a hard counter. Like the entire deck gets banished by one big Sisu. Like the whole deck dies to Sisu. So like and like they're still gonna like ramp and do the thing. Like they're still just gonna do the thing. So like I think that Ruby Sapphire will keep it in check. I think it might be too early on to say if anything's going to be like really really oppressive. I think that people are going to think that the Amber Amethyst hyper aggressive strategy is very oppressive early on in the set. And unfortunately, like the answer to it is just steel decks. Like that I don't know what to tell you. Like you just have to play like steel. You have to play like fire the cannons and stuff like that to stave off some of the early aggression out of that deck.
Are we going to see a return of the Captain Hook that returns fire the cannons to hand?
Man, brother, I have tried to make that card work so many times. If that card was inkable, like yeah, it'd just be nuts. But like it cost 4. It's like okay statted a 3/4. It's uninkable. It only quests for 1. Like I'm probably not like you don't, even if you play it on 4, like you pick up a fire the cannons, but you don't get to use it until turn 5. Like I just play, if you really wanted to see fire the cannons, just play all 4 of them and just don't play any of the 4 drop. Like that would be my suggestion, is just play all 4 fire the cannons.
Yep. But yeah, probably too early to tell if there's going to be some deck that everybody's going to complain about. But like I said, I could see a lot of people complaining about the hyper aggro deck just because I think that's what everybody's going to play in the beginning.
And
everyone's going to be playing it.
And it's similar because Bucky was really oppressive because you didn't get to play the game. And hyper aggro kind of does the same thing because you might lose on turn 4 or 5.
Over.
So the game's over. So you can't play the game.
Like
it's time to errata Daisy already.
Honestly, like Daisy isn't even the problem. You know what the problem is? Like I've played, Labyrinth's been testing internally. Bannable Harka has a video up right now of some of the internal testing that we've done where he was running games on Tabletop Simulator against Humble. And like let me just tell you, like that deck does some nutty things. It does some nutty stuff. Like I was even testing some games internally with the team, and I was just like, Daisy on 1, Piglet on 2. Turn 3, I played a Baloo. Turn 4, I played a Baloo and a Maleficent. And turn 5, I played a Donald Duck and just won the game. It was like, you're not going to be able to get through both my, like all of my bodyguards as well as my high lore questers.
Especially bodyguards that earn you lore when they leave the game because you have to banish them.
Baloo is so silly. Baloo, like I love Jungle Book. So like I'm glad that Baloo's finally getting a chance to shine because I love the card. I think it's such a cool card, and it's like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, and
All
that's a
right.
card you want them to banish because it only benefits you, it protects you, and it gives you lore when he leaves. Like, yeah, that's a good card.
The last thing I want them to do is like under the sea me, because like that would feel real bad.
Okay, so speaking of all of this testing, I saw you post the other day about where you mentioned you were busy cooking decks, and there was an image with like 10 decks. So, which deck? I mean, the answer may be the Daisy deck, but which deck are you most looking forward to actually trying out?
Oh, I'm so excited. So like I think that I think Emerald got some like really awesome tools this set. The deck I am most excited for at the start of set 5 meta is actually Emerald Steel Mill. I'm most excited for Mill. And like there's 4 reasons in set 5 why I'm excited for Mill. The first of them being Hypnotic Deduction. So I came from Magic. I played a lot of Brainstorm. Hypnotic Deduction is Brainstorm. Like even in set 4, like set 4, I was trying to make Mill work again. It's something I do at the start of every single set. I try to see if Mill is viable because I like alternate win conditions. Like I like playing combo decks. And like unfortunately, like we just don't have a really good enough, consistent enough combo strategy in Lorcana. But I mean, it's to be expected. It's still such a new game. We're still in its infancy. We've just hit the 1 year mark. It's going to require 2 to 3 years worth of sets coming out before like we really see what the game actually looks like when every card in your deck is a Diablo, like power level wise. Like when every card in your deck is just like very, very powerful. Like you're talking about hyper efficiencies and like just really good decks. So I try to make Mill work every single time. Hypnotic Deduction is something that like I asked for in set 4. Not necessarily exactly Hypnotic Deduction, but I wanted something that I could put cards from my hand back into my deck. Because far too often I would be stuck in situations where I would have like multiple Tremaines, Do It Agains, or a Whole New Worlds in my hand where like I didn't want them all in my hand when I'm about to cast a wheel. So in comes Hypnotic Deduction. I get to draw 3 cards, put 2 cards from my deck back on the top of my deck in any order. And like imagine I've got 2 Whole New Worlds in my hand and I'm going to sing a Whole New World this turn. I get to put one of them back on top of the deck, get to sing my Whole New World, and now I'm guaranteeing that off that Whole New World, I'm drawing another Whole New World, which just aids in the overall strategy of the deck, which is to mill your opponent out. So like that's one card I'm super excited for. You're Welcome is another one. Oh my God, I'm so hyped for You're Welcome. Like number one, great song, great artwork. I love Yzma as a card, so putting Yzma on a song is like even better. And it also aids in the mill strategy because not only is it a removal option that can deal with characters, items, locations, basically anything your opponent plays, but it also forces them to draw 2 cards. So like I imagine a scenario where like I remove the big threat on your board, you draw 2 cards and then I wheel. So like it doesn't matter that you drew 2 cards. And like instead of just wheeling you and you drawing 7 cards, you've now drawn 9 cards, which again aids in the mill strategy. So that's another card I'm super pumped for. And then both of the Mother Gothels. I absolutely love both of them. So again, I know I've been using Magic terminology a lot, but the 2-drop Mother Gothel, I'm probably a little bit more excited about than even the 6-drop. Still like the 6-drop, don't get me wrong, but the 2-drop has an ability from Magic called Kicker, which I really, really like because it allows the card to scale into the game very, very well. It's a 2-drop, 1/3 that quests for 1. Sure, you can just play it as a 2-drop, 1/3 that quests for 1. But in the later stages of the game, this is a 2-drop, 1/3 that quests for 1 that also Mother Knows Best something on your opponent's side of the board. And there's some really cool synergies in the deck with the muses that you can recycle this card and just like continuously bounce your opponent's stuff every turn, which like I don't know, I like little synergies like that. And then of course it has a Floodborn shift line that can sing a Whole New World and also like forces your opponent to bounce something of their choosing back to their hand.
Boy, I wish you know more about these cards than I'll. You've probably forgotten more about these cards than I'll ever know. That's awesome.
Brother, when I say that I eat, sleep, live, breathe, dream Lorcana, like I don't wish my brain on anyone else in the world because I am a hyper fixator. So like when I'm only allowed to have one hobby at a time. Like I cannot have more than one hobby. And like right now my hobby is Lorcana. So like I have dreams where I'm building decks in my dreams. And I will wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, I gotta go to Dreamborn. Like I got this crazy idea for a deck. And like that's just my life. And then like I can't go back to sleep because I'm like
Literally Dreamborn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Onto
Oh
Dreamborn.
my gosh.
Yep.
You know what? I just have to say, I'm glad that you said you were excited for the Madam Mim elephant because I was just telling James before we hopped on air, I was like, I think this is going to be a really good card. I've been doing some play testing myself, and I was like, I'm excited to try it out. So when you said that, I was like, ugh.
I think it's a very good card. I think it's like overstated in the 4-drop slot, number one. Number two, it's another bounce target. So like you got a deck full of Merlins, like of course, like jam more bounces into the deck. Like it just makes sense. Like currently we're only allowed to play eight bounces. And unfortunately, sometimes in like the Ruby Amethyst strategy, you're forced to like ink snakes early on. So you reduce the overall count of how many times you can bounce something. So I think like I feel like the number of bounces I want in a deck is probably about 10. So like just slotting in 2 of this character is going to be really, really good for the consistency of, goat bounce or, rabbit bounce. Like I really do like that. And then it also like, again, just has this whole another line of text, like as if that wasn't already good enough. At the start of your turn, you remove 2 damage from it and like put it on an opposing character. Like nice Diablo. Like be a shame if my elephant just moved 2 damage to it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, this like absorbs steel damage and punishes them for playing grab your swords.
Yeah, I like this card a lot.
Yeah, me too. All right. So that actually, this whole conversation about your internal testing and stuff, and you're talking about Bannable Harka with the video, that's a perfect segue into the content that you make. You're part of a team called Lab Rats, which I'm guessing is coming from your Labyrinth team. First of all, I just have to say the production quality of these videos is off the charts. Like, it is not only like educational to watch, but it's also entertaining, and you hit both of those nails on the head. So tell us how you got started with Lab Rats and kind of what it's all about. Like, what's your purpose with Lab Rats?
Yeah, so like one of my teammates, Humble, also just like my best friend IRL. He lives like 20 minutes from me. Like we hang out multiple times a week, play test together. Like love the dude to death. It was his idea. He like approached me and was like, we should make a YouTube series that mimics a YouTube series called Versus that was really, really big in Magic the Gathering. It was done by Todd Anderson and Ross Merriam, where essentially they were 2 pro players, very, very good at the game that would test, matchups with each other. They would do analysis. They would, pit 2 of the meta decks against each other to show people and showcase, like they would talk about their lines and like how you should navigate the matchup to give people an understanding of how they should be approaching these games, try to give them that competitive edge. So that was like the initial concept for it. Like it's grown into so much more. And like, first of all, I want to shout out Cregan or Keanu. He's our editor. He's one of our best friends as well. He has been like the brains behind the editing genius that is Lab Rats, and a lot of like the pop-ups and like the funny things that you see that are injected into it are his brainchild. So like huge shout out to him. Like Lab Rats would not be what it is without him. But we wanted to be able to provide I think the biggest thing was with the shutdown of the unofficial client that we had, there was a lack of gameplay content that was available to people. So like we took it upon ourselves to try to provide the community with gameplay content that can be both entertaining and also teach them, how to get better. Like we put two decks that if you're playing one of these decks, like you're probably going to end up seeing this matchup. And if we can teach you, what cards you want to keep, what cards you want to see, what your mulligan strategy looks like, how your gameplay patterns are supposed to go, like that's the whole idea. We want to try to better the entirety of the community by giving, a hyper competitive players opinions of gameplay patterns for like navigating these specific matchups with some like comedic undertones from two best friends.
Well, and I know if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can't see, but I have a video playing of one of the examples of one of their games. And I love this shot here where you can see your hand. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of wish the official DLCs had a hand like this too, but it's exactly like what you're saying. When you are mulliganing at the beginning of a game, you kind of go through there and you're like, this is the card I want to keep. These are the cards I want to get rid of. And this is what I'm hoping to draw into it. And for somebody like me who's not like super competitive, but, kind of have dreams of this set, I keep telling myself, but I believe this is going to be the set where I'm going to take it seriously. So this type of content is perfect for me.
I love to hear that. That's the reason that we do it. It's to kind of, for those out there that are looking to, like, regardless of what your skill level is, if you're, a hyper competitive player and you want to try to gain any additional edges you can, like repetition and like just soaking in as much content as you possibly can is a great avenue to do. If you're a more social player, you like going to leagues with, not necessarily meta decks, but you're looking to branch out into being a little bit more competitive, understanding play patterns, understanding like mulligan tips and stuff like that. From like Humble and I are like, we're kind of good at the game. Like we aight. Like that's the goal. Like we want to try to equip the community with enough tools to achieve whatever type of goal it is that they're looking, whether it's, a small improvement, whether it's, placing in top 8 of your local set champs to acquire whatever, promo it is for that specific season. Or even if you want to try to make day 2 of a DLC or make top 8 of a DLC, we want to try to equip the community with as much knowledge as we have to help you attain whatever goals it is.
Speaking of attaining goals, that actually leads us right into the next question, which is about coaching, which is something that you are doing. So you tell us a little bit about, like how you got into coaching, and for those who have never had a coach, what a session would actually look like.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I got into it because I had people that the community came up to me and asked me for it, is really what it boiled down to. Like, oh God, these pictures. So like I had people like, I'm most notably known for the creation of the Sapphire Steel Zoolander wheel deck. It was the first deck I ever built in Lorcana when set 1 first came out, and I played it all the way through the first 4 sets, and I found a lot of success with the deck. I've got a DLC top 8, a DLC top 64, 10 1K tops, including, ranging anywhere from like first place all the way down to 8th place, multiple store championships, like all on the deck. And like people would reach out to me and be like, do you offer coaching? Like, I'm playing Sapphire Steel. Like, can you help me get better at Sapphire Steel? And I was like, well, yeah, like I'll help you. Like, why not? And then like people were like, I was doing it for free for a while. Like I was just like, I didn't know that like people were like charging money for this type of stuff. And then people were like, no, you need, like, people started like just giving me money. They were like, no, I'm going to pay you for your time. And so like the demand became a lot higher. So like, obviously I couldn't just offer it for free anymore because I would have no time to play the game myself. Not to mention like I work a normal 9 to 5 on top of that. But yeah, it's again, just another avenue to, I have over 2 decades worth of TCG experience. Like, and I've been in leadership positions like in my personal life that include being a mentor and a coach. So like I definitely understand the value of understanding how an individual learns. So like that's really what I try to do is I try to find out, you know, what's most beneficial for coaching is not one size fits all. There's no like this is the recipe, this is what we're going to do. Like I'm going to find out what's going to be most effective for you to retain the information, and like that's how we're going to develop your coaching plan. It can range anywhere from, you know, doing gameplay reviews of recorded footage that you have, to us playing games, to even just conversation, us sitting there and talking through play patterns, talking through lines. Like everyone learns differently. You have, you know, auditory listeners, you have auditory learners, you have hands-on learners, you have visual learners. Like you have to cater the experience to like who you're trying to teach, because I don't want you to spend money on something that you're not going to retain. That's the biggest thing. Like retention is the most important aspect, because anyone that's approaching you for coaching it's because they have some goal that they want to achieve. I want to do everything in my power to try to help you attain that goal. Like for instance, Illumineer's Quest got a couple of coaching sessions with me. Like super cool dude. He was like more of a social player for a while, started getting that competitive itch, did some coaching sessions with him. He got his Continentals invite in Dallas. He got in top 16, got a Continentals invite. Playing Sapphire
That's
Steel.
impressive.
Hair flip.
So what I hear you saying is, if you want an invite to Continentals, we should sign up for coaching with RMB. Just teasing, just teasing. That's such a cool success story. So
Yeah.
that leads me to ask you, like, it's clear that you are a competitive person. Is that competitive spirit something that's like innately inside of you, or did you have to work to bring that competitive side out in you? Like, I know it's more of a philosophical question, but it's something that I'm curious to know what your opinion is.
So like I think I've always been a competitive person by nature. So like I am my own worst critic, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. Like anything that I do, I try to do the best that I possibly can. Like I need affirmation that I'm good enough. So like I will push myself farther than I should to try to ascertain the goals that I have. And I beat myself up when I don't reach those goals. So like again, I don't like wish my lifestyle and like the way that my brain works on anyone else, because like it's not always fun. But I'm not just a competitive player. Like I'm also just a Disney fan. So like I go to locals. I don't show up with Sapphire Steel to locals. Like I put together like wonky decks, like off meta color pairings, like Emerald Sapphire or Ruby Steel. Like I show up to leagues to have fun and connect with the community. I don't show up to just crush everyone every single week. Like that's not fun. Like that I leave that for the competitive spaces, like the DLCs, you know, like some of the unofficial circuits that like Charlie's Collectible Show. They've hosted some 8Ks and some 10Ks. Like there's a time and a place for everything, and I think that the community is very split between competitive and social, and I think that both of those spaces are well deserved, and like they each deserve to have their space. Like I partake in both of those spaces, so like I can turn it on and I can turn it off.
That is such a healthy balance to have, and I think the community would be better served, you know, if more people take that approach. There's a space for competitive, and there's a place for social.
Agreed.
So when you are getting ready for that competitive, what is the preparation like for, let's say, I don't know, Las Vegas DLC?
It usually involves me like running like a ton of games against Lorcana bro, one of my teammates, Aaron Rubin, and just like getting crushed over and over and over and over again, because like the skill differential is just so high there. Like I'm so incredibly fortunate. Like I give a lot of the credit to the successes that I've had in this game because I am surrounded by some of the most brilliant minds in the game. Like I give a lot of the credit to my team. My teammates are absolutely incredible. Like Kendall Burdett, arguably one of the best Ruby Amethyst players like on the planet. Sailor, who's a recent inclusion that we've had to Team Labyrinth, arguably the best Ruby Sapphire player on the planet. He is the one that created the Sisu on Ice deck in set 4. Humble, arguably one of the best Mufasa players like on the planet. Like, I have just such a wealth of incredibly talented players on my team that I get to do playtesting with. So like, when I'm trying to choose and decide a deck that I want to bring to an event, I test against them. And like, they all have unique differences in the deck styles that they play. So I get to test against basically everything in the format against one of the best players. And if I can find the play patterns to win against the best players, then like I feel like pretty comfortable and confident, like going to an event and being able to do well against people that aren't on my team. It's a lot of testing, though. It's a lot of testing, a lot of theory crafting. It's repetition. Like the amount of games that I play leading up to an event is disgusting.
No, I I remember when James here started a team with some of the players in Southern California to try to get that Stitch promo. I mean, he's talking about every night testing for hours and hours and hours. And to his credit, TCG newbie to a Stitch promo holder. So, I mean, that's the kind of dedication that goes into to being able to attain something like that.
Yeah, so it's like anything, though. The more that you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it. Like, however much you're willing to devote to getting better or becoming competitive is how much you're going to get out of it. But like, make sure that you maintain a balance. Don't be me, because I don't have balance, and like, that's why I'm bald.
All right. So I think we know the answer to this one already. I was going to ask you what your mindset is like when you go into these competitions. Are you out for blood, or are you just trying to do better than last time? But it sounds like you already said yourself, I have goals. I have very specific goals. And when I don't achieve those goals, I beat myself up. And I'm like, my first question when you said I beat myself up, I'm just
not,
like, what?
So this is the funny part where I'm going to contradict myself. When I show up to a DLC, I show up with absolutely zero expectations of my performance. That is not my goal. My goal is not to show up and win a Mickey. My goal is to show up and have fun. Like, I showed up to both Atlanta and Fort Worth, which are the 2 DLCs that I've gone to, with the expectation that I am going to play my best to ensure that I do not make any play mistakes. But first and foremost, I am showing up with the intention of having fun, with connecting with the community, and just trying to have a good time. Because at the end of the day, this is a hobby, right? Like, we're playing this card game because we enjoy playing this card game. If you do not show up and the first thing on your mind is to show up and have a good time, then like, recheck your priorities. Like, I never show up and like, when I showed up to Atlanta, I didn't think I was going to get a Mickey. I didn't even think I was going to day 2. Like, I showed up and was like, I'm going to try and play tight, but I'm going to have fun. And like, showing up with that mindset put me in a significantly more positive headspace than when I've shown up to like Magic competitions. Like, I ran the regional championship circuit for Magic for the last 2 years before Lorcana even came out. And like, I showed up and was like, I'm going to win this event. And then I didn't win the event. And it like set myself up for beating myself up, because I set a goal for myself that I didn't achieve. If the goal that I set for myself is to show up and have a good time and play tight, if that's the goal and I do well, awesome. That's a bonus. If I show up and I play tight and I don't quite get there, maybe I, fell into some low variance, like, I still accomplished something, and that was to have fun and have a good time.
Yeah, so that's interesting, because I didn't show up in Atlanta with that specific mindset of I want to have fun. I showed up with I want to do my best. I had no expectations of getting anywhere, and I just wanted to do my best. Now, I have fun playing the game, so right off the bat, I'm gonna have fun playing, and I did. I had a great time, and I was I was in it until round 8. I was actually, if I had just won out, I would have been in day 2, but round 8 just nuked me. And honestly, it felt bad right then, but that just went away immediately with the very next round. Because even though I was out of it, I had a blast playing round 9, and then like talking to people afterwards. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's such a bummer, you were out, you were at round 8 and blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it kind of sucks," but I didn't feel like that oppressive. I can't believe I failed, because I didn't come in with the expectation of going to day 2, like you said. I came in with the expectation of doing well, and I feel like I played very, very well all day. So I met that goal. So I think having fun is part of it, like you said. And obviously, it's a fun game, so I'm going to have fun playing it. But that didn't really enter my mind as part of the goal of the day. So I need to remember that part in addition to I want to play well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and set yourself like attainable goals. Like, make the goals small. Like, you don't need to like. I'm sure that there's like some players that are like, my goal is to be in first place. Like, sure, but like, there's also like 2,000 people there.
Yeah.
Like, there, like the likelihood that exactly you are going to be in first place is like really slim. Like, it's like the amount of luck required. Like, obviously, like you need to be a skillful player and you need to play tight, but like the amount of luck for like just positive matchups, like your deck not hitting any of the low variance possible that's required to take down any event. Like, luck is the hardest skill. Simple as that. Like, you have to be a little bit lucky. Like, for instance, my run in DLC Fort Worth, I played very, very, very well day 1. I played immaculately. I won 2-0 matchups that I should not have won 2-0. The first time that like I got really, really lucky was in round 7, which round 7 is where I secured that I was going to make day 2. I had won game 1 against Ruby Amethyst, and in both game 1 and game 2, like my opponent made like really, really bad play mistakes that like those play mistakes ended up costing him the game, which ended up leading me to like getting the 2-0 to secure my day 2 slot. I lost first round of day 2, and like the thing that like it kind of hurt because like I caught 2 straight games of the lowest possible variance that my deck had the capability of hitting. They were like essentially non-games. Like, I didn't really get to play the game, which is like kind of unfortunate because the matchup was incredibly favorable. I was the higher seed, so like I got to be on the play. It was against Ruby Amethyst, but they had no B King undisputed, and in that slot they had 3 of the Peter Pan's Shadow Finder, which I was like, cool, don't care about that card at all. That's for Diablo. And like, I felt very, very confident that the games were going to be non-games in my favor because I felt like the matchup was so heavily favored for me. I felt like it was very skewed. And over the course, like I lost 0-2. I lost 0-2. Combined between the 2 games, I saw a total of 0 popsicles, 2 Fortispheres, 1 Hiram, and 0 wheels. I didn't see my first wheel until the last turn of game 2, where like he had lethal in play and I needed to like answer what he was doing. Like, I just didn't get, my deck did not functionally do what it was designed to do in either of the games. So like that was low variance, but I didn't beat myself up. Like, I played as tight as I could given the hand that I was dealt. But like at the same time, like it felt kind of bad to like, that's where like the deck chokes is like right then and there, like first round of day 1. But like I was still super happy. Like I still made day 2. I still made a conversion. Like I still got some promos. Like I'm still happy with my performance. I did have an incredible time. And then like I didn't play in any of the side events just because like I had already played a lot of Lorcana that weekend. And it takes a special kind of someone to put themselves through, 12 to 14 hours a day of playing Sapphire Steel. I don't recommend it because the amount of brain capacity you have to expel to like win is a lot. But No, I just got to like hang out with the community day 2. Got to like talk to people, take pictures, like just have fun.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
All right. Let's do a few rapid fire questions. Here we go. What is your favorite deck from set 4?
Sapphire Steel.
The card you're most looking forward to playing in set 5?
You're welcome.
Your favorite style of deck to build?
Combo.
If you could add or change one thing in Lorcana, what would it be?
Bucky would have been errated sooner. I'm just saying the first thing that comes to my mind.
Favorite card from the first 4 sets?
Oh, that one's tough. Do I have to pick just one?
You can pick like favorite art and favorite like ability. It's like that's not even easier, right?
That does not make it any easier.
You can pick 2.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with one action and one character. So favorite action is A Whole New World, obviously. Card's just crazy good. Favorite character is probably Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. Yeah. Favorite artwork. Favorite artwork in the game right now, like I'm probably gonna have to say the Enchanted Mufasa for set 5. I think is like that's a pretty stellar artwork. I'm not gonna lie, it's really good.
You
Like
weren't kidding.
really good.
Yeah, you weren't
It's
kidding, man.
so
Set
good.
5 Enchanted's they're just kicking butt all over the place with the art.
Yeah, they knocked it out of the park for sure. All right, that's our rapid fire questions there. So I think that moves us into the ending segments. I forgot to put a call out on Twitter for listener questions. We did get one in the Discord, so I'll just open this up to everybody. This is from Martin Karp. What's something that's Disney but is not Lorcana that you collect? For him and his wife, they collect Disney pins. So for me, when I don't know, this is the first thing that came to my mind. The Disney Infinity figures when Disney Infinity was coming out. I think I have just about every single one of those.
Oh, geez. What do you collect, RMB?
Disney t-shirts. I have just like a ton of Disney t-shirts. Like I wear a lot of like I'm wearing a Labyrinth hoodie today because it's a little cold in my house, but like I've just have a ton of Disney t-shirts. I've also so like here's the problem. I was not a pin trader before Lorcana. Actually, as a matter of fact, can I go grab something real fast?
Sure.
Go for it.
All right, give me 1 second.
I am a collector of many things, so it's very difficult for me to say I collect this Disney because I have.
I was gonna say, just look behind you.
I used to say look around. I mean, I have a bunch of Star Wars hot toys. I make sure to collect the physical media of Disney movies, Star Wars, Marvel, and Disney. So I want the actual physical media so they don't go away.
Yeah.
T-shirts as well. I got lots of T-shirts. So I mean, I got a lot of stuff.
So like I'm super proud of this. And I know it's not like anything like big or crazy or anything like that, but it's something that I wanted to do. And it started from Lorcana, obviously. But I have found myself like I'm starting to like go overboard, and I haven't added them yet, and I also don't know that this is going to be big enough. But I started a shadow box for my pins.
Ooh,
nice.
That's so nice. Heck
Trying to,
yeah!
like,
You got to get that gold Mickey BLT 1 anniversary pin in there next.
So ironically enough, Sailor was at Gen Con and was able to secure me a Mickey. So I will have a golden Mickey. It's going to go right next to my Gen Con from the first year Mickey, and the Lorcana symbol. It's going to go right here once I do have it in my possession.
Nice.
Nice looking. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, mine are still all in little plastic baggies. I haven't done anything with them yet.
Mine were too until I bought this. I got this shadow box on Amazon for like, I don't know, it's like 20 or 30 bucks or something like that.
Is there just like a piece of styrofoam that you stick those into?
So like this opens,
I want to just rest in there.
and it's like a felt fabric like push pin pad, so you can like push the pins into.
Nice.
It's awesome.
But I've still got some more that I have to put in here before I hang it up. But I think I'm gonna like, I kind of want to put it right here, but then like nobody will get to see it. But like I've got like other stuff up here. Like I've got some like pops and stuff like that are up there. They're my my Letterkenny Funko Pops.
Nice. That's your nerd corner.
Yeah, this whole corner is my nerd corner.
All right. Well, RMB, thank you so much for joining us today. Gosh, this almost feels like it was a coaching session right here. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, that was my secret. I invited you on to get this little free coaching session here. But for reals, I enjoyed hearing your thoughts on set 5, your takes on upcoming decks, the potential meta, looking back at set 4 and previous to that. So everything that you said was super insightful. Again, if people want to find you, where can they find you at?
The easiest place is probably going to be on Twitter at r_m_bx. You can also join Labyrinth TCG's Discord server. Find me on like any platform and just message me if you want a link. I'll send you a link. You can join the server. The whole team's in there. We're all active. We've built up like a pretty good community. It's a safe space. Anyone and everyone is welcome. We do offer, coaching and subscription services through our Discord as well. If you would like to help contribute to the team so that we can continue to produce high quality content, as well as continue to come out to all of these fun events and meet up with you guys.
Yeah. Are you going to be at D23? Probably not if you're on the East Coast.
No, I will be at Disney Springs Friday morning.
Okay.
Getting that D23 set.
Heck yeah.
Oh my. I'm hoping, I don't know what the limit is, but like I want 4 of them. Is
Play
it
sets.
4?
It's probably going to be 2. So go with someone who can buy you
RMB
2.
is going to come. RMB is going to come with me. I want a playset for 2 reasons. Number 1, I want to play the playset of the 2-drop Ursula because it's beautiful. And number 2, I want to play the playset of the Felix in set 6 because it's beautiful and I love that card. And I'm so excited that it's in the game.
Oswald? You said Felix.
I said Felix. I don't know why I said Felix. Oswald, correct.
Heck yeah, you're a man after my own heart here. Yeah,
it's going to be an awesome card.
James and I will be at D23. In fact, wow, this episode is dropping when we're going to be standing in line at D23. So that's exciting.
If y'all get any extra swag, let your boy know, because I won't be able to go there.
Trust me, I have a laundry list of people. Can you get this for me? Can you get this for me? Yeah. So, yeah.
I tried to get tickets, but the tickets were sold out like that.
Yeah, it did not. They did not last long.
This guy, he's like the convention guru. He knows how to get tickets. He knows how to pull strings. Like, he's the guy. Anyway, so yeah, if you liked what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on the podcasting platform of your choice. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And I guess, James, before I get to you, if you are listening to this on Friday and you happen to be in Anaheim on Friday at 8 o'clock, we are going to be meeting at the Anaheim Convention Center with Rebecca of the Illuminary. We know Nicholas Cole's going to be there. I think Rochelle's going to be there. There's going to be like just a lot of people meeting up, hanging out, trading cards, talking about Lorcana. And then if you want to take in the Lorcana vibe in the downtown Disney area, there's going to be a lot of people heading over there too. So that's something to look forward to on this day when you're listening to this. If it's Friday, August 9th.
Yes,
so,
8 p.m. at the Hilton, right next to the convention center. Like right there. It's like on the other side of the sidewalk, essentially. In the food court area, or next to the lobby, wherever it may. You'll find all the Lorcana people. And we have people, like I said, Nicholas Cole and Rochelle said they would stop by, but of course that is schedules permitting. We don't want to say that they will be there, but just that they are hoping to be there.
That's true.
But we hope to see you. And also, if you want to check out the photo opportunity where a bunch of Lumineers are going to get together for a photo, check out our social feeds, Rebecca Quests and Citizens of Lorcana, for the information on that. I think it's on Saturday, like at 2:15 at the fountain. But the details are all there.
The Friday one is open to anybody. Like,
yes.
Anybody can go in, but
anybody
the Saturday
can go.
one, you have to be a D23 pass holder.
Correct. That's about it. So
where can they find you, James?
Oh, they can find me. I'm everywhere online at Dan Regal. And thank you again, RMB, for coming on. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you next time.